Hi, how you doing out there? My name is Arlene Legos,
And I'm Danielle Bowman.
and we are here tonight to present Enough About Me. We are subbing in for the famous Joe O'Connor and Dan Peretti, who could not be here tonight, or actually this whole month. But we have Joe over to the side here in memory. That's his hair. The poor man's Gary Busey.
It's pretty realistic.
It's pretty realistic, actually.
I'm impressed.
And our guest tonight is the wonderful Austin Janowski. Austin, how are you doing out there?
Hey, Happy New Year. And
Happy New Year.
Happy 2021. Woo! We made it.
Finally.
Thank God. It's been like the longest 5 years of my life. So Austin is an actor and a comic book artist and all-around funny man. He has some great projects that he's been working on. The most recent was his Kickstarter campaign that you did for Stanley the Snowman. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, love to. So, yes, I've been working in comic books since 1994, so over 25 years. I know with my voice looks, you can't believe it. Film,
I get that all the time.
I've been doing film for maybe about 4 or 5 years. I got into it after I retired as a creative director of 21 years working for Disney and all that stuff. And yes, latest book I had done a Kickstarter for is Stanley the Snowman. It is an all-age holiday comic book series about Stanley and our lead hero, Jenny. And it is a cute, funny family with love, a little bit of magic. And we got it funded, which I'm very excited about. So they'll be in people's hands probably in a month, but the actual series itself is being published by Scout Comics starting in July of this year. No, let me just say middle of the year is what we're planning. I don't know if it's July or August or September, but around that time, the first issue is going to be hitting newsstands across the country.
That is awesome. Now, how many different types of comics have you penned? I guess is that the correct term?
Right?
Yeah, like I don't say if you say it writing, if you call
Created.
it created, or yeah.
Yeah, I have done across the board. The first book I actually created and wrote was based on my D&D characters. For people that are over 25, know what that means.
Dungeons and Dragons.
That's called Seventh Millennium. Myself and a good friend of mine, Mike Walters, helped create the storyline. And I just got into comic books, and the publisher I was working for, Ally Comics, said they'd love to publish the book itself, which we did nationally, and we made a profit on it, which was like great. But I've done superhero. I've got a book called Divine Retribution, which is a fantasy angel series that's being published by Second Sight Studios. I've got horror. I have a horror series called Zombies Were Human Too, telling zombie stories before and how they became zombies. So I'm not pigeonholed kind of into like one genre. I like to pick a genre and do something interesting in the genre that I don't feel has really been done before or closely not done before.
Something that hasn't been done that I don't think is a horror snowman.
Yeah, I mean that, from zombies to snowmen, but not a zombie snowman. I mean,
although zombie snowman,
we're thinking
that's unique.
So this brings up Comic-Cons. Now, obviously, with 2020 Comic-Con, it's so sad because I'm sure they're all been canceled or whatever. But Comic-Con, I mean, that's no joke. That's like a whole nother group of people, and I say that with love. Because I wrote a sci-fi fantasy trilogy, and I had a booth at the Boston Comic-Con one year and the Rhode Island Comic-Con, and it is like lit.
Oh yeah,
I mean, people, it's like
complete culture.
It makes Halloween just look like a merry-go-round. It's. Am I right? Like, what is your experiences? Have you? I'm assuming you've had a booth or have attended many Comic-Cons before, or like what? Am I wrong? Yes.
Oh no, you're right. I've done thousands of comic book shows. I've been lucky enough to be a guest for pretty much every major comic convention that's been in the United States. And Comic-Con, like San Diego, is its own entity unto itself. It is.
I used to live in San Diego. It's off the rails.
I've never gone to that. That is on my bucket list, is a San Diego Comic-Con. And it's wild. My friend Celine lives in San Diego, and she's gone dressed as Leia and Wonder Woman, and she loves it. And that is on my list. But is that like, for a comic book artist, like to be able to get a booth there and get traffic there? Is that like,
That's a goal. Yeah, that's definitely a goal. To, back in my day.
Now you're no, you can't start saying that. That means we're old.
I mean,
I don't know about you. I'm only 25, so.
Conventions completely have changed since I started, sitting down behind the table and starting to try to sell my books. It's, you had dealers selling comic books. You had maybe a couple of publishers, but it was basically that. And then you had artists with something new that actually went to shows. There wasn't artists or anything before. It was just you went to these conventions to buy books. That was basically what you did. Artist was the new thing added on. And then over time, you added media guests. And then you added, all this different things. Now comic book artists, that's the goal, to go in the big shows. Because you want to get that exposure that you can't normally get. Internet helps quite a bit. But getting face-to-face with new people and actually putting the book in their hands, that's really huge. But conventions are not focused on comic books. They say Comic-Con, but it's not. We're brought down on the tier a little bit. You've got media, and then you have internet guests, and then you have cosplay guests, and you have voiceover artists, and then you have comic book people. That's
they're throwing in like YouTubers and
the media people. Yeah, it's all right here. But that's generational. That's just how it is.
I met Marky Ramone at one of the ones that I was attending. I got his autograph and everything. He was very cool.
I met the Weasley twins at the MegaCon one year. It was absolutely amazing.
Nice.
I've been fortunate enough to work on some really not big titles, but I worked on Iron Man. I was able to do some work on some X-Men Unlimited and stuff for a lot of bigger publishers, as well as doing my own books. So, being able to be a pro artist, you're not really paying for tables and stuff, which has been a blessing. But even now, it's shrunk down. There used to be a huge area for artists by themselves. It's not really like that. Some shows are, like C2E2 is all about the comic book artists. They're really focused on that. New York Comic Con, they rebuilt one part of the Javits Center specifically for Artist Alley. It's its own separate, you have to walk through a little hallway and bam. So it's like a mini convention too. San Diego Comic Con's like 3 or 4 different areas and like one's broken apart. Same with Dragon Con. So I think nowadays there's tons of shows and there's a lot of media and different things, but they're being smarter about it and they're breaking it up into sections. So people can visit one section, another section. You don't have this mosh podge of trying to go through, because there's so many people. You just your brain gets tired.
It's a lot.
And I imagine a lot of them just with COVID were canceled, at least for now.
Well, what happened? What did the pandemic do to the whole industry of like Comic-Con?
Well, we were lucky. We went to C2E2, and that was the last big convention of the entire year.
Where is that? Like, look, where do they have?
In Chicago.
That's in Chicago. Okay.
Yeah, that's in Chicago. And the week after, they had a huge sewing event. Hi, Danielle. Some huge sewing event that got shut down, and then it was just a domino effect. And then on the California, Seattle Comic-Con got canceled. Emerald City, and then San Diego did, and then it was just boom, boom, boom. New York Comic-Con. It hurt a lot of comic book people because they rely a lot on going to shows, making their money and selling and doing all like that. They'll print and they'll prep their year specifically for these conventions because it's kind of like Black Friday for stores. They plan for these certain things.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so they got
hit hard. Yeah.
Most of the costumes have masks, so they got to figure out a way. They're already wearing a mask.
But it's all those vendors and all those people signing. And I just wanted to go ahead and say we got a couple people. Joe O'Connor and Daniel Peretti are. They say hello. They're on our StreamYard, and Joe, who's the usual host, and Dan is the usual co-host. Joe wants to let everyone know that Bitcoin is at 34,000. He's obsessed with Bitcoin, and which is great because when he first introduced it to me, I think it was at 12. Now it's up to 34. So anybody that does Bitcoin and you're invested, congratulations. You have more money than me.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I've got a question for you, Austin.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, with all your experience, I'm sure you probably just have a million ideas running around your head all the time, but where did the idea for Stanley come from?
Funny you should say that. So
is it funny?
It's more ironic than funny. My daughter is sitting right over here. She's pretending she's sleeping, but she's really.
Hi, Austin's daughter.
So I have 3 girls. They're all adults now. But back when they were, much younger, Christmas time, they're opening presents and they're bickering like, oh, he's got a bigger present than I do. Oh, she's got one more than I do. And I'm like, when we were growing up, we had one big present. Like that's all we got. We got stocking, a big present. That was it.
And then you got like toothpaste and stuff.
Socks.
Yeah.
When you became in your 20s, you're like, please, Mom, I want my stocking because I really need stuff because I'm in college.
I haven't gotten toiletries since last Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. I can't flip so many times here, Mom. But I got to thinking, when we were growing up, my father, his birthday's on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
So traditions around the holiday season were very, very important for us. It was a big deal. From on down, it was passed down. And you kind of miss that nowadays. The commercialism was kind of big back then, but it was really prevalent starting in the 80s and 90s. It just blew up. Mm-hmm. And we're missing some of that traditions. And I said, it'd be interesting if we kind of focus on a story that dealt with traditions and the commercialism. Holiday story. Well, I don't want to do another snowman or another Santa story or a reindeer story, but no one's done a snowman story really since Frosty. I mean, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's kind of how I came up with, and
reviving the snowman.
Huh?
Reviving the snowman.
Snowman, and Jenny is a combination of my 3 daughters. It's their different things, they're different attributes.
Aww.
And that's Jenny. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So they must be a little bit older than teenagers for you to like them so much right now. Is that?
Yeah, I've got my youngest is 21, going to be 22, and my oldest is 26. So
okay, wow. Yeah. So I have a 14-year-old, and I love her. Back to you, Danielle.
Well, I must say I'm surprised. I think I just assumed that your kids were closer in age to mine. So kudos to you.
I tried to start a little bit earlier. This way I could kind of keep up with them when the grandkids started. So
yeah, no doubt.
Crazy.
Very cool. So
Yeah.
as far as it's funny when I look at like the character Stanley the Snowman. I see a little bit of you in like the
same
in the face a little bit. Did you model it after yourself?
No, I did not.
Okay.
But
Austin the Snowman.
just here though, just just in his eyes.
I
actually saw that, and I thought that too. Yeah, you're a snowman.
I'll take that. I'll take being a snowman. So what Stanley wears, like the hat and scarf and everything, the idea is one person in a generation is able to bring him to life. And we say it's with faith, family love, and a little bit of magic. Jenny is this one person. She has a locket that she's able to give, in making Stanley. Her father is a jeweler, and he helped her make the necklace. But the hat, the scarf, the hands, they were all added to Stanley. Was how the magic and the love and everything comes into it. So I thought that was very interesting because that goes back to traditions, family traditions, right? And the magic is, it is what it is. So now he was like, well, this is like Frosty the Snowman. No. See, Stanley doesn't smoke for one.
That's right, Frosty.
Frosty was a smoker.
Was a smoker, wasn't he?
Him in that corn cob.
That's so funny.
He was hitting the nick.
I think he was doing some herbs. He was not high, that's for sure.
Well, he was definitely jolly. Oh, I see Joe.
He's hiding.
He's hiding in his hoodie.
looking like a Sith.
Right? He is looking like a Sith.
I thought it was
It's
appropriate for the show.
Right?
Yeah.
Nice.
He's
Well, our host. It
What's
was like,
going on?
man.
so Joe, so you guys might not know Joe's out of town. I don't know if he wants to talk about that, or he might not be able to on a secret stealthy mission, but he's out of town for the month of January, which is why I'm hosting the show and bringing on co-hosts and stuff for the month of January. But Joe, you want to talk about your super stealthy mission, or is it you'd have to kill us?
I'm all super stealthy. No, I'm not. I'm on. That's why I got the hoodie on. No, I have. I'm on. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
on.
now I know why you were wearing that.
Yeah.
He got rid of the Gary Busey hair.
I got rid of the hair. I have to say, Dean, thank you. I love my your artist rendition. I wish Austin had done it. I'm sure it would have come out better. But I appreciate it. But I'm in pre-production right now for a feature. But that's all I can say.
Good for you, dude.
Yeah.
Are you camera, or what are you doing?
No, I'm behind the I'm behind the camera. I'm not on camera this one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a big one though. It's good. I'm happy.
Rock on, dude.
Now that I have the three of you here, if you want, maybe we could transition for a second. I am fortunate enough to have worked with all three of you on our latest project together, which was Teacher's Lounge, pilot. So we have Joe, who plays Walter, who's our the custodian of the school, who basically does.
This is my Walter look.
Pretty shady stuff, so that's appropriate hoodie right there for that. And then hi Bryson, hi Marilyn. And then we also have Danielle and Austin play a married couple on Teacher's Lounge. They play Barbara and Norton Wells. So now, how many times have you guys been put together as a couple in movies since you've known each other?
At least 2, right?
At least 2. I know. Well, yeah. In It Whispers, we were married, and he didn't.
You killed my son.
Ordeal.
Yeah, you killed Joe's son and Whispers,
Yes.
stabbed him right to death. I still have trauma from that.
You should be
Teacher's
me.
Lounge. We're married again. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 times. We were supposed to be in another film, but I had a conflict of interest. I had another thing that I couldn't get out of, and I wasn't able to do it. So.
Now we have a screening coming up this Saturday at AMC Theaters in Disney Springs, showing some short films through the Orlando Independent Filmmakers. Do any of you have films in this, or are you in them, or?
No, I was actually supposed to be one of the hosts for it. But my youngest, she got out of the hospital a few weeks ago. She's kind of compromised.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that.
A chance being in front of that many people, because you people in Orlando, you guys are touchy feelings. You guys like to hug a little bit. So
I am a hugger.
Are we? Are we touchy feely in Orlando?
Well, me and Danielle are. Joe is. Jacqueline is. That's it.
I know. I'm having a hard time with this plexiglass separating us.
Well, so I'm going to be there at the premiere. I don't have a film in the premiere because I was working on Teacher's Lounge, but I do have a cameo in Dancing Days by Chuck Fusca.
Nice.
It's a really, really scary little cameo. So
I can't wait to see it.
If you blink, you might miss it. But it'll be fun. I'll be there, and I'll be kind of checking people in and helping out.
I don't believe you.
You don't believe me?
There's no way that if I blink, I'm going to miss Arlene. If Arlene's in a movie, it's the Arlene movie, no matter how long you're in it for.
Well, that's okay.
I'll tell you what I found out from Chuck was he said that it ended up being a bigger cameo than they originally intended the role for. And I was like, wow, that's weird. It could be because I'm so crazy that they were like, let's just try to use as much of that, So basically, all I'll say is that I'm a nun.
Oh, very nice.
Lord help us.
And it's a comedy. So
very cool.
Yeah, I'll be there as well.
Yeah.
And wearing a way too fancy dress, considering that I didn't act in a single film this round.
I'm going super fancy. People are like, who are you? I'm going to be like, doesn't matter.
In my defense, I bought this dress for the last OIF that we ended up doing virtually. where I won Best Supporting Actress.
Oh, I know. You got totally duped.
And so I'm like debating. I'm debating whether I'm going to wear this like over the top dress or not.
I think she should wear the dress and walk around with her award and be like,
oh no,
we didn't get to do this last time because of the pandemic. Here's my award.
I put it on a gold chain. I'll be wearing it.
Hey, Jana.
I was just behind the scenes this time around, so I helped out with one film.
Dan says we look good. Oh, hi, Jana. Jana, I got to talk to you, girl.
I think Austin recently won a Best Supporting Actor for the Tampa Film Awards, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, T-Buff.
You just got it in the mail.
It's called
Yeah,
T-Buff.
I just got it in the mail. I know. It's exciting.
T-Buff's a big deal. That's awesome.
So what
are they nice awards?
Oh yeah, they're very nice awards. Nice big
cool.
Everything like that. It's T-Buff is one of my absolute favorite film festivals. It's the first one that took one of my films when I started. You know, my first film was Love, Hate, The Amazing Life of a Comic Book Artist. I got deep for that one. No one took my film but them. So I just love them to death. I'm like, man, I want a Buffy so bad. I'm so happy that they got such a great response for the Christmas Rise. Stephanie Davis is an amazing filmmaker, and she came up with this concept. Mumblecore I knew nothing about. It's 100% improv, and she was it. She was like the camera. She was lighting. She was sound. She's like holding this like this and just trying to. It was just so funny. But and it's been real good response. Everyone seemed to like it. I'm floored that I actually won. But I'm very thankful that I did. It was pretty cool.
Congratulations.
So it's called a Buffy?
Yes, they're called Buffies, yeah.
Because I've had a few Buffies, but I had to pay for them.
That's like the Evie, which is the Evie Awards is award show for Emerson Film School. And I've actually been a judge for like 5 years now. And they keep asking me back. I don't know why. I write horrible reviews. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. But I'm very lengthy. I'll write like 3 paragraphs. You know, like most people don't even put comments. They'll just judge it. I'll write tell them why I like it or what I think they need to work on, and then they keep coming back.
Mm-hmm.
But I get to do an actual show because I was busy.
I don't mean to cut you off, but it's very interesting you said that. It's a good segue to go back to comic books for a minute. Mm-hmm. One of the best critiques I ever got, and I was feeling kind of good about myself. I was, getting published a little bit, doing little things, and I was at a small show in Ithaca, New York, and Kim Yale was an editor for DC Comics, and she was married to John Ostrander, who was writing The Spectre. Just loved, was my favorite. Anyway, I walk up and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? I like to show my samples." And she looks at him for a second, and the loudest voice, she goes, "Oh my God!" And everyone stopped and looked at her, which is looking at me. She's, "Now let me tell you something." And she goes and picks up every tiny little thing wrong with my samples. And I got the cold sweat. I'm like this, and you're stuck. What are you gonna do? And she goes, gives them back to me. Like, "Want to know why I said this to you?" And I'm like, "Crazy? Oh, you're horrible." She's like, "Because if you worked on these things and you got them back to me, I would hire you."
Ooh, I like that. That's
yeah.
So my point is, you taking the time and not just glossing, but actually really giving honest feedback helps more and means more because you had an emotional reaction to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whenever I do shows or anything like that, I always take time and look at samples. I always am brutally honest, but I'm good and bad. I'm like, "Your feet are horrible, but it's something you can work on. This is the book." Well, no, I go, "But this is the book."
It's true.
No, I said, "Your feet are
hard though."
I said, "But so was I, and this is the book I used to get better. This is what you need to." And I'm self-deprecating. I'm like, "Yeah, I sucked. I got friends that are like stupidly talented. Like they don't have to try. I constantly am having to work at whatever that I'm doing. I'm not smart enough to be talented that badly. I just have to keep working on stuff." So good kudos on you for doing that. And that's why they're asking you back every single year, because you show that you actually care about what people are putting in because you take the time to write stuff about it.
Yeah, and I'll be like, listen, I may not be the, the greatest, judge of film, but if I'll just tell them how I feel, and maybe it's a side of something that they didn't see, just even as a viewer, I'm not trying to be all like, oh, well, because I'm so good at this. Like, it's really more just like, okay, well, I'm in the industry, but I'm not like the queen of the industry by any means yet. But here's what I see. And
but you're the queen of here.
Yes. It's like saying I'm a thousandaire. Yeah. I'm a thousandaire.
I think I'm a hundredaire.
I'm a hundredaire. Yeah. Yeah. So you're out in Tampa. What do you find to be the differences that you see filming in Tampa versus over here on the east side in Orlando?
Aside from all the hugging.
Of course.
They're hungry and they're really pushing to work on big productions. There's a lot of small studios and they've got great equipment, but it's a small pool and a lot of people are trying to get fed. You know what I mean? But a lot of people know each other. A lot of people are nice to each other, but it is a little cliquish. There's a lot
in the film industry. What?
There's a lot of 30-somethings. So they're very, very, very talented. But yeah, it's people have love for film just like you guys do. There's a couple of like Tampa Bay Film Society, and there's another one, but not to the extent that you guys crush it in Orlando. You guys really do. And you guys really work to try to help each other out.
Yeah,
and I would agree with that.
Absolutely. We have a great family, a great film family.
You have this knowledge, you gain this knowledge. You can learn so much. And after you really do start to have this arsenal of information. And you know what? Guess what? You don't get to take any of that with you.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't look at it as, me helping you out doesn't take anything away from me.
Like with this, plenty of pie.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah, there's plenty of pie to go around.
Yeah, and I was actually talking with Dean Baker about this before that we went live on the show. And the fact that I've lived in LA, I've lived in New York, I've lived in Charleston, and the industry, the film, TV, the whole entertainment industry, it feels so hard to get into. And it's like people once they get in, they're like, mine, and they don't want to. You feel like there's just doors. And I feel like here in Orlando, when I first joined OAF a year and a half ago, and started meeting everyone's like, oh, you need help? Sure. Yeah, I just wrote a feature, but I'm going to jump in as a script soup for you. And everyone thinks that. The whole family, the whole film family feels that way. And I feel like we are changing film in Florida, and maybe eventually the world. No, but you know what I mean? Like maybe eventually we will change it throughout, because it's not pie. You need to be able to mentor people and help people. And my learning curve has been like this, learning about production accounting. And I mean, it's just,
I have people pretty regularly reach out to me. Hey, I just did this monologue. Can you watch it and give me feedback? And there's always that little initial like, okay, I'm not gonna just gloss over if there's some things you need to change. I'm gonna find a kind, because I care about you, find a kind way to share it, and read scripts and tighten up and fine tune. And I feel like I'm always doing that, and I love it, because I've trained probably 4 or 5 different script supervisors over the last few years, because I found, there's not enough of us.
It's a very, very important.
It's a very specialized thing.
Role.
And so now it's cool, because now I have some productions, and when I've got a budget, I'll bring in someone that I've trained and give them some paid work.
And then it's going to work. Yeah, they're like the ninjas of the crew. They have to catch everything, being a script soup.
Hey, can I ask Austin a couple of questions?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Take a break, so go for it, Jeff.
I wanted to have Austin on the show, and I'm very happy that he's on, and I'm happy to be here with him. But I wanted Dan to be on with him, because Dan happens to be an artist, and I'm curious, Austin, were you inspired to draw comics because you got a comic as a kid? Like what's the difference for you between, like, when did your art start and how did it get married to comics, or vice versa? Did it start with comic books and move into you learning how to draw? Like, what was the seed of inspiration for your entire journey?
So, living in upstate New York in the summers, we would visit my grandfather in West New York, Chautauqua Lake, the Jamestown area. It's, Pennsylvania, that area, Allegheny County, which was great. We went fishing and we went outside and it was wonderful. But when it rained, there wasn't anything to do. They didn't have a TV or anything like that. And my grandfather was a really good painter and he could sculpt. And he said, why don't you just try drawing some birds and stuff? So I started drawing birds, and then I started drawing some other things and started drawing, outside wildlife. And I think when I'm 9 or 10, I got into D&D. So I started doing some fantasy stuff, got into fantasy. But comic books, I was 15 years old, and I went down to Florida to spend the holidays with my cousin. And it was raining, so we couldn't go to the beach. And he had X-Men 205, and that's the first book I ever read. And I was hooked. The stories were fantastic. The artwork was amazing. It's nothing I had ever seen before. And he had 205 to 212, and I just burned right through them. And I said, oh, my God, this is amazing. Where did you get these? He goes, a comic book store. And I'm like, there's a store?
Like a whole building?
So
I love it.
I went to my mom and dad and they said, can we go to this comic book store? And I'm like, what? You're not sulk around the house? You want to do something? Absolutely. Let's take you there. And you walk in like, oh, comic book stuff everywhere. And
Awesome.
And I said, I want to draw that. That's what I want to draw. And it was all over from then on.
Oh.
Wolverine was my favorite character. And then I got into Daredevil. And then I got into Green Lantern, and then I got into Batman, and just across the board. And then I found out there's independent comic books. There was like ElfQuest, and there was Cerebus, and there was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and there was A Distant Soil, and there was just all these things. Oh my God, they don't have to be, they're black.
Your mind's blown.
I could maybe do this? Are you kidding me? That was really the start of it, Joe. X-Men 205, Chris Claremont. And it's funny because I'm friendly with Chris Claremont now. We chat online, and when I've seen his shows, we'll stop and have a conversation or so. And I said that I got into comic books because of X-Men 205. I said, so thank you. He's like, you're welcome. I said, but I didn't.
That's so cool.
But he goes, but I didn't do it for you. And I said, well, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wolverine and Beast, my two favorites. I agree, Jana. Those are good ones.
I have like 25 Wonder Woman comics. I'm always collecting them. When I lived in Massachusetts, and it's going to be a shameless plug for a friend of mine, but when I lived in Massachusetts, every May the 4th, because that's like Star Wars, May the 4th be with you. Yeah. It's called, he has a store named Rubber Chicken Comics, and Jay Pillarelli is the owner, and he would hold a huge free comic book day, like for the weekend, and you could come in and there'd be a whole section where it was just free. You could just go in and pull from that section and get as many free comics as you wanted.
Wow. And
people dressed up. He had people dressed as stormtroopers, like real, like the hard shelled costumes, and people would show up and dress up, and the kids loved it. And I've met a lot of kids who, they had a hard time getting into reading until they got into comic books. And comic books really is like a bridge into reading for kids that have a hard time starting. So I just thought that was, wonderful. I'm really sad that nobody could really do anything like that this year, but next year maybe.
They tried to do, this is the first year since Free Comic Book Day was initiated, which is May the 5th. They could not do it. They did a month of free comic books, whatever, but I was free books. You could get as many as you want. Anybody who wanted to do it, now they're more choosy on the titles that they will go for free. You can only order so many, and it's different, but it is a thing.
Oh yeah.
It's like we've got a few viewers that are big comic book fans too.
Yeah.
I have Xena, Princess Warrior comic book.
Sweet. Very cool.
See, I ordered a drink once that was called the Xena Warrior Princess. It was not very good.
I was Xena for Halloween one year after I bought the comic book. I did not look like her.
I'm sure the comic's better.
Comic book is better than the drink.
I never, I never understood comic book culture because I was never a child.
Until now.
So I'm working desperately to go.
He's
back to
Benjamin
childhood.
Button. He's going in reverse.
Yeah, I totally am. But I find it interesting that a lot of artists that I know got their inspiration from absolute boredom. You know, raining and no TV. And it's like, if you can get a pen or a pencil or even a couple of colors, you can, find this world within you and express it. And I've never been able to draw, but I find it incredible that people can do that. I think it's a huge talent that, I think it's cool.
So
My brother, the only thing he did some comic. He was interested in some, but his big thing was Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
Oh God, I loved Mad. That was awesome.
And so I got into Mad Magazine and I loved reading the comics in there. But really, I just wanted to fold that last page.
Yeah, I remember that.
Hey, Austin, I have a question for you as far as comics and film. Now, have you ever worked or have wanted to work doing an animated film?
That's what I'm hoping Stanley the Snowman is going to be. I was very excited. The best message I had ever, one of the best messages, my publisher, he messaged me and said, "Hey, send me some Stanley stuff. Sony Animation is interested in checking it out."
Ooh.
Very nice.
I go, "What do you mean checking it out?" Well, they liked it and they're asking for 10 titles. You're one of the titles, and they think they want to check it out. Okay.
Nice. Nothing wrong with that.
No pressure.
The fact that Sony Animation took a look at Stanley, that's my hope with Stanley when I first thought of it was, I would love to be able to have this come out every single year and be enjoyed. That's why I did the Kickstarter in December. Even though it's coming out this year coming, I wanted to have something for people to get now and make it a tradition, something that they can do every year. Look, I never thought I'd be in film at all. Just didn't. The fact that I'm in 2 Christmas movies that people can watch every Christmas season just blows my mind. The first one is Elf that Saves Christmas, and I play a grumpy elf. I didn't have any lines, but I was, and this one I had the lead, and both of them are just absolutely fantastic. And it's something that, again, this year we watched because we watched last year, and it's something we're hopefully going to do every year, traditions. So having that be an animated film would be just...
It would replace Frosty.
It would. Ooh, I would like to have Stanley the Snowman, the movie, or, the children's special, lodged in between Die Hard and Love Actually. Like that's it for me.
How many of us grew up,
right?
And there was a handful of those, the Christmas cartoons and, and that's what you'd watch. You'd sit down with your family and every single year.
You had to. It was like, if you didn't watch it, it didn't feel like Christmas.
But, you can't keep that tradition. Like, we need something new, because I show that to my kids are 8 and 11 and they won't watch any of that old stuff. It's horrible.
They think it's lame.
Well, it's probably because it's like, Frosty. It's just so.
When my kids were little, I remember they saw the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and me and my husband got super excited because we're like, oh my gosh, we watched this as a kid, and we'd sit the kids down. And when they were super tiny, it worked. But yeah, they get to be that age and they're just like, Mom, the effects are so bad. Yeah. It's really just bad.
It's like Christmas Day and Pixar drops a new movie. Like, you can't put on Rudolph from 40 years ago, against Pixar. Right.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like when my dad used to watch the 10 Commandments, and then he'd be like, "This is the greatest. We got to watch this every year." And I would be like,
yeah.
It wasn't really a choice because he just held the remote hostage for ever.
Schindler's List, Pop. Let's go.
Austin, I got a question for you.
Yep, please.
So you had mentioned a minute ago that you never thought that you'd be in film. So what happened? What caused you to make that leap, and how did you get involved?
Well, all through school, I was in musicals and theater. I was voted North Theatrical my senior year, but I loved to draw. I loved comic books. And living in upstate New York in the 80s, Only thing I thought you could do was maybe theater. You know, I thought about maybe going to, you know, New York and do theater, but I went to a show in Syracuse, and Bart Sears was going to be a guest there, and he was working on Justice League Europe. And I wanted a Power Girl sketch because Power Girl has big boobs, and I was 20-something, and I wanted. And Bart draws women very, very good. So I went there, and I brought samples, and I waited in line, and he drew my head sketch, and it was literally a sketch of a head, right to here. That was it. And I'm literally looking like this, and he's like, well, what? I'm like, Power Girl.
Where are her powers?
So he goes, you know how many of these I've drawn today? And I'm like, oh, what? Like, that's a problem? He's like, what, you're an artist? And I'm like, oh. And then he sees I have stuff. And he took my samples. And then he actually took a moment and looked at them. Now, some of these were my art. Some of these were my inks over my friend Tom, my stupidly talented friend who didn't have to practice. And he actually liked it. And then Graham Nolan, who was working on Hogworld, which became Batman artist, he looked at it. And then Tom Lyle was working on Robin. He looked at it and got passed right down the table. And people wrote little notes on it. And they give it back to me. They go, you know, if you work on these things, you could be a comic book artist. Well, you know, come back next year and see what you got. Yeah. I went home. I told my girlfriend, told my mom and dad, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm be a comic book artist. And they're like, that's great, but why don't you have a backup plan just in case?
Oh, yeah, the famous backup plan.
Got my associates in design, which was commercial art back then, and I worked in my backup plan for 21 years, and that was how I got to work for Disney and for Universal and Warner Brothers and everything like that. I was a hybrid. I knew all the programs, you know, but I could also draw, and that helped me prepare myself. And then I retired, semi-retired. I became a little old to get, you know, very hireable. But my friend was doing a film. Hey, you want to be a ghoul? Yeah, it'd be great. Hey, you want to be a bodyguard? Yeah, that'd be awesome. So this is fun. How do I do this? I mean, what do we do? How do I? Well, I just go to auditions, try to audition, get some experience. Like, okay, where do I find auditions? You know, I had nothing, I had no idea. So they kind of pointed me in the right direction, and I auditioned, but I started getting roles, and then I got enough roles enough to get a little bit of a reel, and I got an agent, and it just started snowballing, and that's just kind of how it happened. I started taking classes. Lee Perkins with Third Act has been absolutely fantastic. He taught me Meisner, which I still try to practice. I mean, there's just, again, practicing every day, doing different things, monologuing and whatnot. So that's kind of how I fell into it, Daniel. I don't know what I'm doing. He told me, well, here's the thing. He said it's funny, second class said, he goes, here's the thing you got to do. You need to be truthful, right? You need to know the words, and you need to give your version. That's it. Mm-hmm. And if they buy you, they'll buy you. If they don't, they don't. You move on and you keep trying. Yeah. That's all there is to it. Because you might be perfect, but you might be as tall as the lead. They don't want that. Or you might have less hair than, who knows?
So many reasons. Yeah.
It's the whole world that they're trying to build. And I didn't understand that at all. Like, I was like, what? So that's why I decided I wanted to go ahead and make a film, which is why I made Love Hate. I'm like, I did a challenge, so I wanted to do a screenplay, and we finished it in 30 days. And that's how I learned Premiere Pro, because I had people who were going to edit it, and they didn't, and I literally crashed and burned. And the only reason I knew a little bit to get by is because I used Adobe for absolutely ever, so I knew quick keys. Other than that, I was just, I mean, let's put it this way. I edited my first film. It came out a month later. I'm like, wait. There's audio gain? Talking. I don't have to. Oh my God. That's just, you know, that's the kind of thing. But being behind the camera helped me be a better actor, because having an understanding what sound is like and what they need, what the lighting is like, what they need, what the camera is like and what it needs, positioning, all that sort of thing. So when I'm in front of the camera, I like to be easy and I like to be the solution, and that makes you hireable, right? Because if you're not time wasting, they're saving money and their budget. Hey, this guy's easy to work with. He can be the solution. Let's hire him. He won't be a problem. He's not going to be taking selfies between every single take or something like that. You know what I mean?
Or showing up and not knowing your lines, or not,
or
not
showing
quite
up
prepared.
late, or
Yeah, being hard to manage. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've worked with you several times.
But then,
That's kind of how I got into it.
yeah, but then you wind up solving all the problems, and you're no longer in front of the camera. They move you to behind it.
I know.
yeah.
I know. But I enjoy it. I like directing. I like being first AD. Danielle, you were with me when you saw my directing in action.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think I agree with you. You'd mentioned that like your work on one side helps you on the other. And I absolutely see that as an asset. I think that more people should do that. I've worked on productions where some of my fellow actors, they don't know any of the terminology. They don't know really what each person out there on the other side of the camera is doing. They don't know what their job is
or how significant it is.
Yeah, I've heard people refer to like the slate as like, yeah, that thing that they hit.
That thingy.
The clapper. The clapper.
Yeah.
Because I
They
kind
don't
of
know what soft sticks are.
I went the similar path that Austin has. I actually started behind the scenes and then went in front of the camera. And now I kind of, I manage both. And I can't pick one. Everybody's like, well, which do you like better? I'm like, no, I love each for different reasons. But
she just needs an RV so she can live like on a film set.
Seriously.
That's all she wants.
If it weren't inappropriate, I would do that.
She'd probably do it anyway.
But being behind the camera, I think can help you be a better actor.
It can help you be a better creative person all the way around. It's interesting in the comic book realm. There's a lot of very, very good inkers, colorists, whatever. There's a great inkers, but they don't know how to draw. They can render really, if the penciler is strong, there's no really problems with the pencils. They can render and ink very, very well. But if a penciler brings something and there needs to be fixed, like the perspective's a little off or shading's off, whatever, they don't understand how to fix that because they don't have that artistic thought. Yeah. You have to be able to draw in order to ink, they say. Same thing with a penciler. You need to have an understanding on scripts and what they're trying to say, the atmosphere and whatnot. It just goes right down the line. I know really good colorists that work in comic books, that work on the big two, do not understand color theory. They've never heard of color palettes or anything like that. They have one coloring style, and that's what they get through. Acting's the same way. They get a certain actor. All they want to do is act. They don't want to do anything else. This is how I do it. They don't want to branch out. This is my lane. You want to hire me? This is the lane that I'm going to be in. This is what you get. And they're good with that, and that's fine. But if you're really a creative person, if you really want to express yourself, you can't be in a box. When I worked for Disney, it was absolutely fantastic. I had an office and blah, blah, blah. And I worked on one of the biggest IPs ever. And you could be as creative as you wanted to in this tiny little box because their brand standards were so ironclad tight. I mean, from colors to ink to the whole 9 yards, you could not branch out whatsoever. If you did, even iota, that's great. They own it completely. It's whatever. But you had that. When I worked for Universal Studios, it was what can we stick on the wall? Give me an idea. What do we got here? Because they were starting the Islands of Adventure, and there was just 12 of us. We're just designing and doing different things, completely different atmosphere. So
interesting.
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting. Even as a writer, I have found that looking at the story that I've written through the eyes of the actor during the table reads, through the director, if it's not me, through even the people who are doing set design, it makes me go back and look at the script and say, I need to be more specific here. I need to, I've been learning so much like about, okay, well, transitions. Okay. Now my learning curve has a lot to do with, what the editor needs and how can I start that at the beginning with the writing to make sure that it's clear with transitions and stuff for the editor. And then also now, having written the whole first season and writing it so that when it gets uploaded into movie magic scheduler, that what I'm putting in my script so that things get pulled as far as like a prop list and a wardrobe list and when you're breaking scripts down. So there's just so many things that you can learn by, kind of like cross-pollinating across the whole entire
making
industry.
yourself well-rounded. You're very well-rounded, Austin.
Very well-rounded.
Thank you. No, especially right here. Very well rounded.
Like a snowman.
Like a snowman.
So it sounds like you have your hands in lots of different things. So aside from all the exciting stuff with Stanley, whether comic book or film, what have you got coming up?
Besides comic and film, what?
Do you have any new film projects coming?
Yes. Sorry. Sorry, my bad. Yes, it's funny because when March 12th is when things shut down, like literally shut down for film for me. I was on a callback for The Righteous Gemstone. I was waiting to hear. I think I was like on hold, meeting some other person. Everything shut down completely. I'm like, crap. Stanley got signed by a publisher the next week. And then Divine Retribution got signed 3 weeks later. And then Rick Danford and I have a web series called Dawn of the Dead, and I created a prequel comic for the series that got picked up by another publisher. And then Zombies, we got our second Kickstarter, and that got funded. We got two. So 2021 is completely booked comics. I have 4 books coming out, and the entire year is completely booked, which is
awesome.
That happened in 12 years, which is so I've been scheduling for the past month on how to figure things out and when things coming out and when things coming out. Who's cutting?
I'm gonna say Joe. Joe, what are you doing?
I think
So I actually have to go. I love you guys, but I have work I gotta do. I'm in production.
Hi, Stacy.
No, it's not. But I love you guys.
You guys be
Arlene,
cutting
you're
up
the
a body
greatest.
or somebody?
And then a little bit, but it's for the show. We're
Joe.
in pre-production.
Post your second question in the comments, and I'll answer them.
Oh, you're the best, bro. Thank you, all. I love you.
Bye, man.
Bye, Joe.
So as you were saying,
So there's Dawn of the Dead is going to be in a comic strip sort of form book called the Continuum through Terraform Comics, and that's going to start actually this month, I think. I'm signing the contract next week. Stanley is middle to later part of the year, and then Divine is going to be in Previews, which is the national distributor magazine for coming out in March, coming out in June, and then the series will probably start in October. And then Volume 3 and 4, we have 80% of all zombie stories done for Volume 3 and 4. All the stories for Volume 3 are done. The main artist has to jump on 3. That's going to be coming out next year. Those are graphic novels. And then when that's done, we'll do individual comic books. So that's the comic book stuff. That's all that.
that sounds like a full-time job. So now let's talk about your other full-time job.
So film, I'm very excited. I just auditioned for Stranger Things a week and a half ago, which was nice. I'm taping one for David Makes Man tonight. And there's 2 feature films that I'm taping for tomorrow. So it's nice to get auditions. There's nothing really booked film-wise for me except for Teacher's Lounge whenever we decide to get back on track with that. I do have a documentary called Chico and the Coach that's 60% filmed. We have to film interviews and then edit. And then what that is, Chico and the Coach is about Hall of Fame high school basketball coach Herman Valdez. He was a principal and basketball coach for Robinson High School and Bayshore High School. He was with Monroe Middle School too. Incredible guy, stories for days, but he created actual defensive basketball plays that are being used by high school and colleges to this day. They're over 30, 40 years old. And he's a Christian, so we wanted to talk about his faith, his father, and how he came into his life and how he shaped him as a man, as a teacher, as a educator, and the people that he touched and the different things that stories that he's got. It's really interesting, the stuff that he's done. So what we're doing is, since he's all in the basketball, we're going to do a 30 for 30 style film focusing mostly on the basketball, him as a coach and stuff like that, talking to players. And then the broader scope, the big feature film will deal with him, Chico, his time with the boys club, growing up and everything like that. So that's the big feature film that we got on. And then and Danielle, I did not mention this to you. So Coffee and Dessert was the short that was supposed to be in this film festival, but we had a location that did not want to cooperate at all.
It was interesting.
Yeah, so we put it on the back burner, and I talked to her about maybe we should do this as a series. So Danielle, I have a friend who has a production company in Texas and California, and they are working with Shudder at the moment, and they have a couple things in place where they might need some short films, and they love the idea of coffee and donuts. So they're going to talk to us after I send stuff to them. We'll figure some things out, and we'll figure out budgets, and then make sure we have a good budget to make something that will go on Shudder.
Nice.
It's not speculation, but it's a possibility. But so at least there's coffee donuts. We'll do that. If not, we'll just start figuring out a mini series, a web series that we want to do for 2021, 2022. So that's kind of on the books. And then I have another feature film called Waiting on Faith that I have written that I've been trying to get done for 2 years. And I was supposed to get done this year, but COVID just.
Damn COVID.
Yeah. So but I think we're going to probably go with 2022. I want to make sure we have funding for that probably. So.
And maybe in 2022 you'll be at San Diego Comic-Con with Stanley the Snowman.
I'm hoping that we're going to be there this year. I'm hoping. I don't know if we are, but I am hoping that we're going to. I know that we're going to knock the doors off of New York Comic Con because New York Comic Con is Scout Comics like home base. And they have a huge booth and everything like that. So I'm very excited about that. It would be very cool to have Stanley at San Diego. Who knows? I don't know.
We got a question. What career can you see yourself in if you didn't take the creative route?
So originally I wanted to be a meteorologist because I like to storm chase.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like math though. So that didn't work.
All right. How many times have you seen the movie Twister?
55 at least.
I'm at least the mid 30s.
I love that one
I don't
too.
know. I could watch it all day long. I just love it.
I can quote them. Give me a kiss, Manny. Give me a kiss. Yes, sir. Move on.
I can quote Pretty Woman like that.
Yeah,
Well,
I could do.
I don't want to change that to that career though.
Love Actually, I can quote. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just
I could see that though.
Die Hard, I could totally quote Die Hard. All of them. Any Bruce Willis movie I could actually quote. So
that's fine.
He's my celebrity crush. Him and Dennis Leary.
So what career would I take? So originally I was a meteorologist. Honestly, I took a break from art and everything after September 11th. You know, the tourism industry in Orlando just got crushed. I just got laid off from Disney then. I couldn't find a job to save me. So I went back up to New York and I was a nursing tech. And I was going to go and get my nursing degree. And I'll tell you, it was the hardest, most rewarding job I have ever done in my entire life. I've seen people that were supposed to be dead miraculously walk out the door 3 days later, be in a coma or whatever. And I've also seen people that have just something barely wrong and then they're gone. And I have to wrap their bodies. There's something quite simple. Yeah.
Imagine if you had to do that
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just what's going on in the frontline people. No one can fully appreciate and understand what people in the medical field go through on a normal day, let alone what's been happening now. It's just, so yeah. So Joe, I would be in the medical field. That's what I would be doing. Whether I'd be a nurse practitioner or something else, I don't know.
Very cool. Yeah. I don't like needles. So I knew I'd never be in the medical field or a heroin addict. So that's good.
Interestingly, I was a nurse aide to put myself through college.
Okay.
No, well, it's hysterical because, you know, if I have to, you know, pop something, you know, pimple on my husband's back or something, I could faint.
I did faint.
And I pass out if I'm having blood drawn. Just
Same.
I can't do needles. So I laugh that I did that for, 4 years to kind of just put myself through college. And
you can do, like, I did chem sticks, I did blood draws, I did EKGs, I did wound cleans.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's a whole list of nope for me.
Yeah, and I mean, like I've taken care of people sick and dying, but the whole blood thing, I don't know what it is. I got a job through a temp agency, and I told them, they were like, "Is there anything that you don't want to do?" And I was like, "I don't really want to work with blood. Like, I don't want needles, And so what do? They get me a job at hospital. And they're like, well, you're just going to be in
There's
research.
lots of blood there.
They're researching DNA. You're just going to be doing a lot of paperwork. So then these people come in, and the woman that my boss at the time was like, oh, can you take them over to phlebotomy? And I was like, that's blood. And so she's like, you just got to walk them over there because you have the pass to go from one building to the other, because you had to cross the street outside, or they didn't have a bridge, or I don't know. So anyway, long story short, I go over to phlebotomy, and the woman's like, you have to stay here and wait for them to be done because you need to walk them back. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just go sit in this. She's like, oh, you can't. Nope. It's like a insurance thing. You have to stay here with that. They pulled out like a tray full of empty vials, and they laid that woman down, and I passed right out, right out on the floor. I woke up and somebody was patting my head with like giving me water.
Oh, no.
And then I got on a bus. They're like, why don't you go home for the rest of the day? I get on the bus to go back, and my agency calls me and says, so they're going to pass? I was like, you think so?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to pass. Actually, it just did pass. I passed right out. So that's not gonna happen.
Austin, were you squeamish because you said you could like draw the blood? I mean, do you have to get used to that? Or you're just cool with it?
Yeah, it's funny when you're the one doing it, it's not nearly as bad as when you're getting it. No, sure. I didn't fully.
Whatever.
No, I didn't get fully squeamish. After a little while, it's just you do what you do, and it did what you did. But I would cut people wide open. I'm taking out my own staples from her surgery. Well, Joe, you're just a mutant, okay?
Good Lord, Joe.
That's all I got to say.
I was getting shivers just reading that. Ugh, yuck. Yeah, I could never do it, man. I can't do it. I mean, now, being a parent, raising 3 girls, I've got 2 kids, there's a plethora of injuries and blood and bodily fluids and all kinds of gross stuff that you have to deal with. So, when there's a crisis and it's like, oh, okay, I love you, and you're screaming and there's blood or you broke a bone, and, I can go into that emergency mode and I'm good. But yeah, the minute that everything calms down and settles, I could throw up.
Yeah. Yeah. The first time when I lived in South Carolina, the first time I ever saw a palmetto bug is what they call them.
Oh yeah,
like, that's a cockroach.
Those creatures, the monsters,
that fly that are like this big. I was like, ah! Like I just yeah. But then when my daughter's like, oh, there's one in my room, I'm like,
we're moving.
I'm gonna kill it, and then later I'm gonna freak out. So
it's spiders for me. I've had so many huntsman spiders crawl on me or fall on my head and crawl down my neck, and living in South Tampa, it's just absolutely horrible.
Oh, I was about to say, what are you doing that happens so often?
I'm minding my own business. I'm doing absolutely nothing. They're the ones that are attacking me. Thank you very much. I was so.
You're the victim. Okay.
So tell me the worst one. Tell me the worst one.
So I moved in with Dina. She had her house in South Tampa. It's an older home, a lot of oak trees. And I'm like, okay, a lot of cobwebs. I'm like, I keep trying to clean them, but they don't go away. I'm like, oh my God, fine. So I'm running late for work. I go and shut the door. I feel like boom, like this on my neck, like this, fall down. I'm like, ah! So you do this whole back ninja sort of thing, flop out of the way. And I'm like, what was that? What did I look? And it's a hunting spider like that down there. And see, I'm just.
It went down your shirt. It went down your shirt.
Huh?
It went down your shirt.
My shirt, but it went over my shirt. I know. I feel my tag.
Oh, good Lord! I'd be like stripping and running in the yard.
So I go and I find him. He's dead. So I call her up and
I say, you sure?
Oh my God! I just got attacked by a spider. Oh, I'm so sorry. That never happens. Don't. Yeah. 3 weeks later.
Oh no.
Same thing. Shut the door. As I'm reaching, one goes on my hand, rolls up my hand like this, and it goes over like that. So again, ninja freak out mode. And I don't know where he went this time. I'm like,
I'm freaking out too. We're like, just don't talk about snakes. I won't be able to handle it.
So again, I get in the car this time and I go, it happened again. She's like, no. I'm like, yeah, we're burning the house down.
Seriously,
Yeah.
what cologne are you wearing? That they're
I don't know.
I'd be like 50-mile drive-by Molotov cocktail.
I'm telling you, it is I'm not exaggerating. A big spider has done that to me 5 times since
Oh
I've been
my Lord.
Oh my God.
5 times.
I
Horrible.
couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. I mean, I once had in the car, because I've been an addict for years of my soda, a bee.
It's really whiskey. Just kidding.
Apparently a bee had crawled down the straw
Oh,
into the drink. And I'm driving along, have the kids, we're tiny at the time. So I'm driving along and I reach into the cup holder and I'm driving. And before I could swallow, I felt like something chunky. You know what I mean? It was like in my mouth. I sucked that bee into my mouth and I almost crashed the car.
Oh my God.
I managed to roll the window down and hawk,
A big
just spit it all out. And I had to pull over just to catch my breath.
Everyone has
I can't do spiders either, though. I'm
Right.
ooh.
See, the only thing I get used to, probably just from living between LA and New York, was like rats. But my roommate, when I was in LA, my first roommate, Howie, did not like rats. And he had a BB gun. And of course, no warning, like new roommate. All of a sudden, I just hear him screaming. And I hear just like, and I'm like, and I always wondered why there was these little divots in the kitchen floor. He would shoot them in the house. And I was like, dude, really? But everybody has their thing. Everybody has their thing that they can't do. And mine's snakes, man. Like, I'll kill a spider. I don't want them crawling on me, but like snakes freak me out.
Snakes don't bother me at all.
Nothing can move that fast without feet. Just doesn't make sense to me. Like I even when I see like little like geckos, I love them. I think they're adorable.
I do too.
Or, like,
Everyone
little bearded
said
dragons. Yeah.
everyone said when I moved to Florida that just after a couple of years you'll start to hate the little lizards. And no, I don't.
I think they're
don't hate them. I
adorable.
love them still.
I love when they do little push-ups and everything. 'Cause
Oh
they're
my
trying to-
gosh. Yeah, they're flirting with the girl lizards. They're like, check me out.
Yeah.
They are.
What's up, baby?
It's so buff.
Hang out my small.
So
Yeah.
hey, Austin.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know that it sounds like you have some fantastic projects coming up and some good auditions. But in the 4 or 5 years that you've been acting, can you pick one role that you had that was like the most impactful, like coolest role that you ever had? Like, I don't care how big or small it was.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
I got 3.
Okay.
So besides the Christmas ride, working with you for the first time at Whispers was a lot of fun.
Oh.
Yes, it was.
When she
Yeah.
murdered you.
Yeah, Arlene's like, let's just get this clear. Hold on.
And then she murdered you and your entire family. Okay.
Yeah. I loved your professionalism and how easily you got in and out of character. Creeped me out a little bit at first. I won't lie to you. I'm like, wow, she can get out of the murder rage like in a second and then get right back to it. I'm like, poor husband.
Then she's like cackling, and you're like,
Yeah. Okay. The second one was auditioning for Dan Myrick for Black Veil. That was really cool. And the final that I booked was pretty fun. And then
Are you able to talk about your role at all?
No. Shoot, I can't.
I don't think that's released yet.
No, it hasn't released yet. I can't talk about it.
That would be exciting. I auditioned for that as well.
Yeah.
I remember I got into what was it? I can't remember were we there at the same time? We weren't there at the same time to audition, but I had posted something and you knew just from what I was pretty cryptic, and Austin's awesome because he always reaches out to me like to congratulate me on something or ask questions about it. And so you knew where I was. So we had auditioned, I think the same day.
That's
awesome. Same day. Yeah. And the third one was booking the role of the feature film Epiphany that was filmed here a few years ago. And that was, I worked with some pretty big actors. Caitlin Carmichael, she's in Dwight in Shining Armor right now. Okay. She's the lead. Yeah. And George, and I can't say George's last name. He was on Game of Thrones. So I was able to have a scene with all 3 of them. which was
How
just
does that feel?
oh, first it was very intimidating, but then I like tried to be as professional as I could and not chat them up too much. It was tons of fun. It was my first really big film being on anything now with big boy cameras and big boy sound and the whole 9 yards. It was like legit the whole thing. It was great. So I was like, so this is how it's done. And this is like an independent film. I can only imagine what like a studio film's like, because it was pretty good. And the sisters who created and wrote and directed, they are the nicest people you're ever going to meet. They were super sweet to me. They were very understanding, me being nervous at first, and worked with me. So I'm thoroughly grateful to them for giving me the opportunity to start, showing that I could actually be in a feature film was pretty cool.
Yeah. I kind of find that I think that's kind of a misconception, maybe from people that are like outside of this industry. I find that the people that I work with in film, whether it's a small indie thing or, I'm on a professional set, they're for the most part, man, they are just the nicest people.
Yeah. And you have to be, because it's got to run smooth.
Oh my gosh. It's the kindest, warm-hearted, very helpful, full of help, and really want you to succeed because they want, you want the project to succeed. But oh my gosh, I think a lot of people have this conception that, everybody's walking around like, being a jerk to everybody else. No, not at all. That's just the kindest people I've ever worked with.
So I got a question for both of you. We'll start with Austin.
Sure.
Hey, I'm not a guest.
Well, I still have a question. Dream role. Have you ever had a dream role? If you could play any part in a movie, what would it be? Would it be, would you be like a superhero? Would you want to be like a murderer, like a serial killer? What do you have?
I love. So when I first was thinking about getting into film, I asked people, do you see me as a leading man or as a character actor? And women at first thought I was hitting on them and I was being a creep. I'm not trying to be a creep. What do you see me as? What do you think my type is? I love being a character actor. It doesn't really matter to me what specific character it is, just as long as it's very meaningful to the story. If it has a good, meaningful impact to the story and it's somewhat integral, like it has like a good purpose for it, I'm all for it. I will tell you that if I had my choice of what to be on, I would kill to be on Peaky Blinders.
To be on what? Peaky Blinders?
Peaky Blinders. I love period films, and I would love to be able to be. I guess I would answer your question. I would love to be it doesn't matter what special role, but a period film to me, I would absolutely adore. That's a big goal for me, is to be something like that.
That's so cool. All right, Danielle, how about you?
I don't have, I have like, a handful of shows that, I'd love to, someday be on. But I don't want to get myself too hung up on that per se. For me, it's more, I love working on projects that are in line with social issues that I feel passionate about. So, although I may not always, not that I dislike my character, but I tend to play damaged, broken people. And, that sounds maybe terribly depressing for some people. But like I recently, the last film I worked on in Atlanta, I played a racist.
Oh, that must have been hard.
And, and that's hard because it's so the opposite of how I live my life. But the entire message, the message of the film was beautiful. And this character had a turning around. So if it's a film that speaks to, some kind of social injustice, then I gravitate toward that. So I kind of already feel like, my dream roles, I try and work with a bullseye already. I'll go out for roles that are already kind of in line with what I know my strengths are. I do a great job playing like the happy wife and mother. I do that a lot in commercials. Yes.
I get it. That's the full on character. Like, hey, do you want to be like a hooker or like a mystic or like a psychic? I get like those like really out there roles, which
But the bitch,
makes
for
sense.
me, it's like, the nasty pants boss, kind of the
the
demanding.
Cruella DeVille,
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. So that little bit of evil deception. And, like on It Whispers, I enjoy being able to dive into those characters. Now, a lot of times I end up with roles where I have to get extremely emotional. I can't snap in and out of that too much, which is hard because I'm a pretty gregarious person. And when we're not filming and we're able to, I can connect and chat with everyone and have a great time. I can't do that if I'm in a highly emotional role.
Yeah,
I actually put myself in a corner.
well, you have to. It's hard to jump from one to the
stand
other.
away, and I have to keep and I'm listening. You're listening to speak to figure out, well, how soon are they going to be filming, because I need to cry. I need to get into a certain state.
So that actually leads.
But I
me
love that dive.
Yeah.
So any character where I can really make that kind of dive. So
that leads me to another question for you, Austin.
Yeah.
What any role that you found to be the most challenging role for you?
Oh yeah. So I was lucky enough to be in Saul's Juke Joint, which is a theater. It's a play musical. I didn't have to sing, thank goodness. And I played a racist.
Ooh.
Now, I only had 3 weeks to learn all my lines and everything because they were going to be doing the play for Black History Month, mid-February. So I got it. I tried out in December, and Tony Stinyard, he's the writer and he's the director behind it. So we go, and I'm reading for him and all that. He's like, all right, now there's a part here where you're calling someone the N-word. Are you okay with that? Tony's black. And I said, are you okay with me saying
I don't really want to say it.
Are they going to be okay? He's like, yeah, it's fine. I mean, you can only do it once, and that's fine. I said, okay. It was the most difficult because that is absolutely not in my nature at all. So what my focus on was not trying to be racist, but I'm going to act a certain way that everyone hates how I'm acting. And that's how I came about doing it. That's how I could actually kind of do it, because he was horrible. This guy was mayor of the town. He wanted to take over Saul's Juke Joint to open a rail yard to make his granddaddy happy, and he'd raped somebody. He was a horrible, horrible person. And he throws it in people's faces. And this is me doing it live, mind you.
Oy.
Black cast, everyone, me, white person. And I go, if I have at the end of it, if the audience is booing me, I've done my job. And sure enough, as soon as that was done, I came off. I mean, they were just super loud booing. And I'm just like, thank you so much. I love you so much. Yes, that's okay. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But that was the hardest thing, not only for the type of it was, because it was completely against my character, but the time frame. I mean, learning scripts for a film is like, because if you screw up a line, you get to do a retake. When it's live, it's like, that's it. Mm-hmm. So, and luckily, I didn't forget my line once. And
nice.
It was absolutely fantastic for me.
You're a pro.
Yeah, I find as a writer and director, I always tend to gravitate towards people who have a background or a history in theater first, because they don't have takes. Like,
you're used to the pressure.
If you get it wrong, you get it. You know what I mean? You have to learn how to improvise to get your point across. And so I find that they're just better. They're easier to deal with, but it's not always the case, but most of the time,
having at least some experience with that, because it is very much that the show will go on.
Yes, it must.
Yeah. So that hard work and dedication, you're going to show up and you're going to know your lines.
I think with me, and it's not that I have talent, whatever, but I think I have a propensity for improv very easy. I'm able to improv quite easily. I monologue all the time. I internal monologue. I drive my family insane because I'm constantly going on just tangents of different things or whatever. And they're just like, oh, just stop already. I'm like, I can't help it. It's just, I just have to do it. Voices and dialects and whatever. They just like, oh my, and they leave.
Yeah, I think our families deserve an award, don't they?
Yeah,
For this crazy lifestyle and the work that we do.
Oh yeah. So my oldest, she's like, so Dad, you did comic books for so many weird, which is kind of weird, but you get into film, really? That's what you get into now? Like that's not weird too, right, Hope? Yeah, my daughter Hope, she's like, yeah, it's
I'm like two different people because when I'm out and about, everyone's like, Arlene, she's so loud and boisterous and personable. And then when I'm writing, I literally like draw the blinds.
You become a
shut
hermit.
The door. I'm such a hermit. I like people will be like, are you like? I'll get so many texts from people. Are you okay? I haven't heard from you in a while. You've been really quiet. And I'm like, oh, I've been thinking about 25 people in my head for like the last week and a half. So I've been like, I'm not alone at all. Like there's a lot going on up here. Yeah, and I'll be writing. I'll have food. I'll have just everything surrounding me. And I'm like a psychopath. It's weird.
So how does your family, I'm assuming I know you guys a little bit.
Yeah.
They're supportive. Any chance of any of your girls or your wife kind of, getting involved as well?
Dee likes, like, when we do stuff, Dee's the producer. She's behind the scenes. She does and gets stuff done. She makes sure everyone's in line. But my Hope actually is interested. She has a little bit of interest in it. She was in a couple of small plays and she did very, very well. And she enjoyed it a lot. So, but we'll see. My older two, no, not really. It's funny. When they're younger, they were all into the whole comic book thing. They liked going to shows because they could travel and do different things.
Mm-hmm.
But as they got older, like, comics are lame. Huh. No, they're not lame. They're just, it is. So my older daughters tolerate me and my quirkiness. Hope supports me and my stepson thinks it's kind of cool and I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without my wife. There's no way possible. She gave me 3 years and likely she's given me 2 more. So I'm doing okay. But you need to have that support and able to be creative and reach your potential. And so far so good. If you don't have that, I can only imagine how difficult it can be for some. When I was doing comic books growing up, my first wife did not like comic books. She told DC editors in their face she hated comic books. She didn't fully support it. I don't think we were young too. I mean, we were early 20s. It's a whole different thing. It's all about making money. So looking back, I'm like, I get it. It's like some weird thing. You want me to work. I'm making money in design, but you want me to draw books? That doesn't make any sense. Why don't you work to make money? We've got kids. Mm-hmm. We got to do stuff. But I'm lucky I'm in a spot now where I'm a little bit older. I've got into this film thing. I have a wife that supports me, and she actually likes it and knows quite a bit about the industry, which helps immensely too.
Sure.
So yeah, they secretly get irritated, but they won't say anything. They'll say stuff behind my back. Do
you have a website that people can go on to see some of your work?
Yes. So the easiest thing to do if you want to find out the history of me or stuff that I've done is just go to Google and type in my name. There's a lot of interesting old articles and different photos of when I had more hair and I had no gray. But if you want to see some
box of chocolate, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, like, Google me.
If you want to see recent stuff on social media, for Facebook, it's either Austin Janowski. You can go to the Art of Austin Janowski for comic book stuff, or Ronald Janowski for film. Instagram, it's Austin Janowski or Austin Janowski Actor. Twitter is Janowski2002, but I don't use it very much. I have a YouTube page that I'm trying to get off the ground. I'm so horrible with that, but I'm trying to be better with that. So there's things you can find about me. But check out Scout Comics. Check out Second Sight Studios. Check out Terraform Comics for the new comic books and stuff that are coming up. And message me on Facebook. And if anyone watches this and has a question about art, about film, about someone that would like to break in, whatever, send me a message, man. hit me up. I'm all about collaborating.
He'll respond.
Yeah, I have one question based on that is if there is someone out there who is interested in kind of breaking into the field, whether they be a teenager or younger or mid-20s, whatever, what would be your advice on how they should get started, other than just start drawing? Like,
well, so decide, do you want to be a storyteller or do you want to be a part of the story? You know, and what I mean is, do you want to just draw? Do you have a propensity for liking color more than line art? Do you like, you know what I mean? Do you like just writing stories? And then focus on that first. Get comfortable with that. If you want to draw, that's great. Draw with what you're familiar with and comfortable with, and then broad from there, grow on from there. But draw every day.
You started with birds.
Huh?
You started with birds.
Birds. But doing it every day, and then not throwing out any of your drawings. Never throw out any of your drawings whatsoever, because if you're drawing every day, you can see a progression, hopefully an improvement from day 1 to day 30. You know you're doing something right. If you don't see
interesting advice, then, because
yeah,
I would imagine that, you know, my son used to draw a lot. He's actually pretty good. But yeah, like he'd draw something and he'd be like, oh, well, that's crap. And want to just get rid of it because he didn't like it.
Yeah.
No.
You gotta see the progression. Yeah. Now, how is it the publishing as far as copywriting? How does that work? Like as a writer, if I write something like a Teacher's Lounge, I go to, you know, Writers Guild America East and I get it copywritten. Like, what is the
what do you do for a comic?
Yeah, like what's the process?
You would go to the Library of Congress and you'd get it copyrighted.
You go to where?
You go to the Library of Congress and you actually get a copyright.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, you would actually, your idea and everything like that, you go ahead and get copyrighted. It's hard to copyright an idea, but you know, imagery, that sort of thing, look, you can kind of do. Mm-hmm. Also, for the cheap man's way, if you want to do it, make a book and publish it, write a copyright on there, sell it to some people, so you actually have made money on that, and that way you can show that you have a history that started. What they're also doing is, if you have imagery and everything created on your computer, it is date stamped.
True.
If things published online, there's date stamps.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a copyright, you can actually show if you know, good idea. But copyright, if you think it's an amazing idea, but if you're just starting out, it's okay to give some stuff away. It's okay to work for free to get that experience. A lot of artists that could do really pretty pinups and everything want a lot of money, and they have not proven that they can make a deadline at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most important thing. Can you start and can you finish? Can you make it within a time frame? Because that's really important, right?
Yeah.
But if you just want to learn how to draw because you enjoy doing it, there's a lot of different books with manga, with regular. There's YouTube, you know, tutorials. You can learn different things. Just go outside. I recommend, for me personally, if you want to learn how to draw, go outside, draw landscape and backgrounds, because all organic. You got the shading, you got the textures, you got everything right there, and it's not moving. Trees don't move, so you can draw the same tree and stuff every day, and you can get improved in that way, and then just move on to something else. That's what I did with the birds.
If you could pick one person that you would consider to be your mentor, that has really, because for me, mentors, I just feel like people don't realize having a mentor can really make or break you in any industry, and so I've had to claw my way through for many, many years. But I think that's maybe one of the reasons why I try to mentor people as much as I can, so they don't have to recreate that wheel, you know? So what would you say? Who do you say would be your biggest mentor or mentors, and why?
So for film, my mentor would be Lee Perkins. He helped me get out of my shell and kind of take the next step in understanding as an actor the subtlety aspect. It's okay. You don't have to be over the top, and teaching me the techniques of being behind the camera or being in front of the camera so I can audition and actually get booked. Comic book wise, Charles Burnett III was an inker for DC Comics. He was the guy who would always look at my stuff and give me tips on inking better, while showing me his latest work and everything like that, and I would buy stuff from him because I was a fan. So I would say with him for comic books. And then from there, I have friends that were much more successful than I. Sanford Green, he has a book now called Bitterroot. We came up at the same time. He's worked for DC and Marvel. This is his own book. It's been picked up to be a film. It's an award-winning comic book, and it's right in his wheelhouse. So he's kind of more of an inspiration than a mentor. But those two primarily really helped me get me up and going. And I'm all about mentoring and helping other people. I take great pride in the fact that there's a lot of people in the industry that are much more successful than I am that I help nudge in some way back in the industry, and seeing them come back and chat with me. Perfect story. Fabrizio, and I can't say his last name because it's Italian. Walks up to me and shows samples of Conan, and they are absolutely gorgeous, just gorgeous. And I said, what are you doing? He came over to America for 2 weeks because he saw the show and wanted to show his stuff around. It's the first time he ever showed his samples to anyone out of Italy. I said, hold on a minute. I took his book. I said, you follow me. And I walked him over to CrossGen. Now, if you remember, CrossGen was here in Florida, published comic books. Bart Sears was the art director at CrossGen. So I walked him up to Bart, slammed the book down, and I said, look at this. You have to hire this guy.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
flipped over the Conan pages, and I said, look at this. He's like, oh, my God. I said, you have to hire this guy. Fabrizio said, Bart, seriously. And I left. He got hired that day, and he's gone on to amazing things.
That's awesome. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
That's just what dreams are made of,
That's
right
what
there.
that's what it's all about.
That's exactly what it's all about. Be a mentor, help people. There's plenty of pie.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's okay to share you a little bit, because if you share, it just multiplies and you'll get more.
Exactly. Comes right back to you.
That's right.
I agree.
Oh, Jana says that there's we got music playing
Yeah, there's been music playing in the background.
Christmas
So
music,
kudos to who's doing the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless Facebook doesn't like it and goes, sorry, this whole webcast. So,
Well, we'll see about that. How much time we got left?
run, Rudolph, really? For
Yeah.
the whole hour? You guys can do whatever you want, but normally we can.
Yeah. Well, we're about to wrap up. Does you have any questions for us before we go?
Hi, Samantha. I appreciate that. That's amazing. And I said, well, I
Hey,
think,
Sam.
Hi, Samantha.
I just want to thank everybody. It looks like we've had some pretty steady viewers the whole time. Thank you,
Yeah.
guys. It's been awesome to share Austin with you.
Yeah, Austin, it's great to talk with you. It's always a pleasure to work with you. You are a 100% professional, a great guy all around, and we're really proud of all of the projects that you have coming up this year, and we look forward to seeing them.
thank you. Well, I'm excited to be part of Teachers Lounge, and I can't wait to get back on track with that. It's an absolute blessing that we have some neat projects, both in comics and film, coming up. And yeah, if I'm not a nice person, my wife gets mad at me. I don't want that. So I can't not but be nice. And it just,
You're a nice person at your core. So
I'm a giving person by nature, and it can be to my detriment at times, but it makes me happy. And helping other people, if I'm able to, that's what I like to do, especially now that I have some experience and actually able to help the next generation of whomever. So it's just, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun chatting with you two.
thank you guys.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a wonderful evening, and
Yeah.
tell the family we said hello, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Austin.
Bye.
Bye.
To our millions of viewers out there, we want to say thank you for watching. I'm Arlene Legos,
I'm Danielle Bowen.
and this is Enough About Me. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.